Hello, it's Sheila back again with the Stopwatch Gardener podcast. I am speaking to you from a midsummer June garden, complete with blackbirds and sparrows. In the background, you may be able to hear the fragrance of the roses, and the elderflower is magnificent. This has been a really warm May and June, but here in Scotland, where I am in southeast Scotland, there has also been quite a lot of rain, so the growth is magnificent. As you can imagine, I was away for about a week, and when I came back, the garden just looked kind of disappointing, but that's because it was hidden behind a curtain of green, expired, things that needed to be cut back, like the aqualegias that had flowered, various weeds, and going through and doing a bit of editing, taking out a trug of greenery that I chopped up for the compost heap maybe every day or sometimes twice a day. It made such a difference. Even going through and taking the deadheads off of the Centaurea montana, that perennial cornflower, which is one of the few things that's reliably available for picking for flowers for the vase in the house in May. It just had tired looking old past flowers on it, so I cut out those and just let them drop, and they looked so much better. The eye really is drawn to what's in flower, I've realized, when there's nothing distracting in the way. The only thing that my eye should fall on when it hits the border is either something in bud, or something in flower, or ideally something that is a nice green shape, like a good evergreen mound of the fresh leaves from the hellebores, or the lovely long green spikes of the crocosmia leaves, and of course those won't be flowering until late summer. I'm sitting by the water feature here in the upper garden. This is a very small plastic container that's embedded into that I've dug into the ground. It's circular, and it has a fountain in it which is solar powered. And I thought, will I even bother to get a water aerating device for such a small feature? But it really was suffering from green algae, so I got the solar powered fountain, which just floats in the water, and it's absolutely brilliant. Cleared up the cloudiness in the water straight away, and it just makes a lovely little sound of splashing alongside the birds in the background. Let's see if you can hear the splashing. It's only a small sound, but I think it's quite lovely. I have dug out and replanted half of this border. No, more like 1/3 of this border. I did that earlier this year, very early, January, February. And it's taken a long time for the plants that I put back into here to knit together and make the space look full. There was bare soil visible compared to the other 2/3 of the border, which is all undivided plants that really do need some attention, like a massive few phloxes. This crocosmia could probably be broken up as well. And this side of the border that I hadn't touched is looking really healthy, but it was looking fuller sooner than the side that I had replanted. I'm sitting next to very tall spikes of indigo violet delphiniums. These are all Pacific Giant hybrids, either bought as Pacific Giants or that I've propagated from seeds and cuttings. The color is just fantastic. Further back against the tiny house, the little guest house my husband had built a few years ago, are another planting of the same delphiniums, but those are, I guess, between 8 and 9 feet high. Absolutely incredible. Again, I think this is a combination of the heat and the moisture that we've had. I support those early on in the year with supports that I think I mentioned before were recommended to me by the specialists in delphiniums. Are they Blackmore and Langdon? Is that correct? I met them at the Chelsea Flower Show, the one and only year that I went. and they said allow no more than 7 and ideally 5 shoots to come up to flower, pull off the others, and provide a ring of supports with bamboo canes that then have string around them. So that gives the delphinium some support, but it still allows them to grow and move. So yes, definitely a good year for delphiniums. We are in that midsummer moment where the fragrance and the color and the daylight are all at their peak. Where I am in Scotland, it does not really reliably get profoundly dark except at 2 o'clock in the morning, and everything else, the sun is either fading from the sky or coming back into the sky, which means you need extra good eye mask or blackout blinds to make sure you can get a night's sleep. So I've been implementing those. I've turned the other way now, and I'm looking at a planting that includes rose de rechte, an opium poppy, a red shrubby salvia, white campanula, blue delphinium, dark purple salvia, caradonna, and it looks absolutely fantastic. There's also a yellow rose in there, golden celebration. I think if you are a gardening fan, this is the time of year when you sit in your garden and think, oh, I need people to come and look at my garden. I think we all have that urge. So friends of mine have been throwing around invites back and forth saying, come see my garden, come for a coffee, come to look at what's in flower. The two most striking things in the garden at the moment are the thyme, a lemon thyme which has grown into a huge kind of cushion in this raised bed that we have up in the winter garden, because the bumblebees are absolutely crazy for this. I'm looking at it now and I see 6 bumblebees plus a couple little houseflies tucked in there. And this morning when I came out after the total downpour in the middle of the night last night, there were bees tucked into the thyme, just kind of trying to stay out of the rain. It has been such a crowd pleaser. And behind that is a climbing white rose called Lykkefund, which means lucky find in Danish, evidently. And it is a thornless white rambling rose that scales up a 30-foot rowan tree and out the top of it and cascades down the sides. And it is fully in flower. The scent is lovely, light and sweet, and the flowers are semi-double, I would say. They have an open center, a yellow center, and soft white petals around the edge, a couple rows of petals. A definite favorite for the bees. I had worried that the bees weren't really in evidence this year, but they have come along finally, certainly making their way to that thyme that I mentioned, as well as the old favorites like the foxgloves. And I have a breadseed poppy here called Peony Double Black. And when I was weeding out plants from the vegetable bed earlier this year, I was pretty sure I could tell which of the opium poppies were the Peony Double Black, so I left those. They have quite a jaggy edge to their leaves. So I left them, and they are flowering, and I was right. A lot of these are the Peony Double Black, and those which are single are also a deep, very beautiful, plummy, is it a plum purple? No, it's the color of blackcurrant juice. We have Ribena blackcurrant juice here in the UK. I'm not sure if you have that, but also possibly the color of dark black raspberry ice cream in New England, something I grew up with and still dream about. So the color is fantastic, and we have both the very, very double variety and the singles, but of course the bees are more interested in the single because the plant hasn't sacrificed any of its stamens or pollen to give me the extra lovely full petals that I love. But I am a real sucker for the totally double one. What else to tell you? I've realized that one half of my main vegetable bed is never going to happily produce vegetables because it is It runs underneath the that rambling rose that I mentioned, which is climbing up a rowan tree. And between the two of them, they are pulling so much moisture out of the soil. So this year, as an experiment, I have realized, wait a second, I can put a courgette in a largish container and plonk it into this place in the bed, which has very dry soil, but which still has decent enough light. So this is a courgette called Green Bush. I think I got the seeds for free in the front of my Gardener's World magazine that I have a subscription for. And yeah, I've got a couple of these planted, one here and one in a container down in the warm courtyard near the kitchen where I have my tomatoes growing outside as well. So we'll see how that goes. I feel really satisfied when I learn something new about the garden, but also kind of stupid for not having realized it before. I thought there was something, I was just doing something wrong with this raised bed. Why is the soil so dry? And then I looked at the big picture and thinking, oh, of course, it's the tree and the rose and also the lilac next to the tree and the rambling rose that are taking all of the moisture. So I will use this space to grow vegetables, but the only way is up, I think, building up with more soil above ground and keeping that watered. I'm really lucky to be having a fantastic photographer come along from one of the garden magazines to do a photo shoot of my garden for a spread to be in the magazine. And that's going to be sometime in June, so I have done what I was doing last year when I knew the photographer was coming from Gardener's World magazine, because I was shortlisted for the Garden of the Year competition, and just trying to keep the garden in as tip-top shape as I can. So that means deadheading, taking out by hand any rose leaves that look either like they have black spot or that brilliant orange rust. Other bits of tidying, like for example here, the lovely wild Maine lupins. The spikes will get about half developing seeds heads and half flowers, and when they get to that stage, I just pull them off and take what remains of the flower spike. I'm just doing it now, and putting it into a vase of cut flowers that I have down near the bench in the lower terrace, because I want more fresh lupin heads to come up and be visible for the photographer's visit. Oh, there's a dog. He's my dog and he's barking. Let me just see if he will calm down if I come over here. Thank you, Arlo. Good boy, but very vociferous. I'm now at the very warm courtyard near the kitchen, and the two tubs here are one of the courgettes that I mentioned, the green bush, and a seedling of a beefsteak tomato called Burlesque. I saved the seeds last year, and I'm growing one from seed just to see what it turns out like, and those are interplanted with some red lettuce. And the other container is 2 Burlesque plants, which I'll grow as cordons, but these are fresh seeds, fresh F1 seeds, and they are definitely stronger looking than the seedling that I've saved, but also they get better sun. I've put the my saved seedling in the shadier container, but also because I think the courgette would possibly prefer that container as well, and I couldn't fit the courgette in with the container with the 2 Burlesque in it. What else is here? The apricot is surprising us with 2 apricots this year that look like they're going to come to ripeness, and instead of falling off, which they usually do. There's also a stone container here, a raised bed that we had put in years ago, which I believe is open to the ground. It must be open to the ground in the bottom, but has a lot of old plants in it. There is a clematis that has been in here maybe 15 years called Polish Spirit, and its flowering has become weaker and weaker over the years. And when I dug into the soil, it seems that a lot of the wood from the base of the root system is just dying, and there's various fungus and mushrooms growing on it, which I think is, it's not poisonous or anything, but the soil seems to be very white with that fungus, and I think I need more organic matter in here and possibly more compost. I have put more compost in previous years, but not true homegrown organic compost. So I have put my own compost in here and watered it a lot. And I have a hellebore, which is a bit of a canary in the coal mine here for me, and that its leaves were very dry and limp looking and laying down almost flat. But since I added a huge layer of homemade compost and watered it a lot, they're standing up again. It's all just trial and error, isn't it? We don't know what's going to work. We come across problems and we do our best to troubleshoot them. Well, wherever you are gardening, I hope you're having a lovely June. Thank you for listening. If you want to see more about my garden and more up-to-date images, you can follow me on Instagram, Sheila M. Averbuch, or visit my gardening blog at stopwatchgardener.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.